Hi guys, let's talk about effective lesson planning. We know that we're going back to school, and one thing which will help us as teachers is to have a very effective lesson plan. The first thing we need to know when we are planning for the effective lesson plan is you need to have to get your objectives very clear. You need to have the purpose of this lesson. The objective should be very clear, outline exactly what students are expected to learn or achieve at the end of the lesson. You need to have that because that's the main thing, the objective. If you know what we call SMART goals, SMART in capital SMART S, which is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. If you can really plan your lesson on the SMART goals idea, then you will be able to really come up with a very nice lesson plan. When you have the objective, you know exactly by the end of this lesson, I need my students to be able to do this and this and that. The next thing you need to have is the resources, the materials. Identify all necessary materials or resources that you are going to use. For example, you might have things like your textbook, like us for teachers who do teach, languages. We have textbooks. You can have a textbook, or you can have handouts. You can for listening, you need to have like things to do with audio and video clips. You need to have flashcards, visual aids. You need to have props. You can have things to do with definitely you'll have to have a whiteboard and markers because you need to clarify some few things when you're talking and you're explaining what you want them to get. You can have if you have computers, okay, and projectors. Many schools do have that, but if you don't have, still okay, as long as you have the whiteboard and the textbook or the handouts, you know exactly what you're going to how you're going to make your students understand or simplify what you're telling them to understand. It's okay. For those who are somehow blessed, you can go to online, you can have online platforms. Like my students, they love Kahoot, they love Blockhead, they like, it's the kind of games. If you have Google Classroom, it's okay. Just to make sure that when you go in that class with your objective, these are the resources which will help you make students understand your objective. Then after all that, you need to, now you need to introduce your lesson in class. So you need to set the tone for the class. Very welcoming, engage students, and activate prior knowledge. Very quick techniques you can use is like, for example, quick review of previous material, previous lesson, what you learned. If it's the first time or is the new semester, you can just go through trying to have fun, asking them what they can remember, what we did last semester. You can have some short games, or you can have a song. You can have, activity related to the lesson's theme. Yeah, something like that. So to make sure that you make them feel, welcome, and you don't just rush things. Just have fun the first few days, trying to remember things, so that you can now bring the mood to, the learning mood. Don't jump into a lot of talking. Let them talk. Let them talk. Let them say things. When you come to presentation of new content, what is the purpose of that? Introduce the new language structures and vocabulary concepts. The techniques you can use is you can use the visual, use visuals like images, video to introduce a new words or grammar concepts. Present new vocabulary or grammar with examples. Try to make them understand what you want to say. There's a method I like using in class, which is called the 3Ps. The 3Ps. So the PP methods, which is presentation, practice, and production. You present, you practice, and then let them now produce, say what they have understood from what you have presented, and then after practicing. So it's called 3Ps, the PP method, which is presentation, practice, and production. You can also use the TBL. TBL is a task-based learning. That's depending on your teaching style. There are so many teaching styles you can use. Don't be really pinned down by what I use or some of these things I'm saying. There are so many of them. Sometimes there are some tips you can use. Be sure, ensure clarity and simplicity when introducing concepts to make sure that students get them in the right way. Provide context of for new vocabulary through sometimes through stories, through pictures, through real life scenarios. And when you come to practice activities, when you want now to practice activities, allow students to practice the new concept or in a controlled manner. Remember, in one of my videos, I say that teachers, I love saying that teachers, you need to be a facilitator. Teachers are facilitators, in fact. You're just there to facilitate the learning. So there are different types of activities you can do, like controlled practice. Activities like fill in a blank, exercises, matching, or quizzes where students work with the new material, but have support. The teacher is there to move around and help them. So it's a controlled practice. You can do that. Give them those activities and then move around and check what they're doing. We have guided practices or guided practice. For example, like a role play. In languages, we do a lot of role plays, dialogue, sentence structure, construction tasks, where students have a chance to use the new language with guidance. We have interactive practices or interactive practice if you want. You pair them or you group activities such as a short conversation or some games in class. By doing that, you can just move around and check what they're doing. You're assessing the concept you introduced, if they're able to really understand and if they are following, they're doing exactly what you want them to do and to become. When you come to productivity or production activity allows students to use the language in a more spontaneous and creative way. So when you have things like debates and discussions, students discuss a topic or use the target language, and I normally tell teachers that let students use at least 95% of target language. If it's French, let them use French, because using the expressions you have given them, they will be able to express themselves using the language. Creative projects, have students create dialogues, short videos, make short videos, short stories, skits, those are creative projects. When you come to presentation, ask students to present a topic they researched in the target language. And by doing that, you'll find your class will be so interesting and so engaging. When you come to assessment or what you call error correction or feedback, provide constructive feedback. on students' performance to help them improve. And there are different approaches you can use. There is what we call immediate correction. Correct errors a student speak or write, especially with pronunciation. This is a language. It's a word language, foreign language. Pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary mistakes. Sometimes you can have what we call delayed correction. Delayed correction after a group activity or a class discussion provide the feedback on common errors. You can let them just discuss, and then you put the errors in general down, and then present that on the whiteboard for everyone to just get mistakes where they went wrong and how they need to improve that. We have positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement focus on what the students did well before even addressing areas for improvement. Just encourage them, tell them this was so wonderful, you did very well in this, but try now this one, so positive reinforcement. And then there's you can also try peer feedback. It's very good. Encourage students to correct each other with guidance from you. Many students love this a lot. When you tell them to correct one another, they love it so much. Or sometimes you can use self-evaluation. Let them correct themselves first before you correct them. Then there is now the conclusion. To conclude, summarize the key points of the lesson and clarify any lingering questions they might have. Activities like brief, just do like brief review of the material covered, what you learned during the lesson. Allow time for students to ask questions if they have them. Assign homework if you have to, or preview the next lesson to maintain continuity. And conduct a short reflection activity, as if, for example, you can ask, what did you learn today? The takeaway, you need to hear from them. It's a way of assessing and see what you told them is really they got it. You can even ask them to rate themselves, rate of 0 to 10. How can you rate yourself? How did you understand the lesson, the topic? And they will do that. It's a fun way of trying to assess them, and they like owning their learning. And then if you want some extension activities, if you can give them some homework, if you want, if it's necessary, if you want them to do it to reinforce the lesson outside of class, and give students a chance to review or to practice what they have been learning. Things to do with vocabulary practice, or you can use some apps like Quizlet. You can use flashcards. You can do some writing assignments, short paragraph or dialogue using new vocabulary or grammar. For listening and reading comprehension exercises, if you want, you can give them. And then there's something you need to be very careful with: the timing and pacing. This is very challenging for some of us, because you need to ensure each section of the lesson is appropriately timed, because sometimes you might come and teach, and then you find that there are some activities taking more time than you expected, which means if you don't time it nicely, then it will affect other activities you plan for the lesson, and then you'll not be able to accomplish the objective of the day. So each section should have a clear duration that aligns with your overall lesson time, and be flexible, but stay mindful of your timing. If something takes longer than expected, then adjust accordingly. For example, you can shorten a practice activity as long as the objective is achieved, or skip less crucial sections as long as the main objective has been really achieved. If it's speaking using, for example, expression like je m'appelle Bernard. If it's speaking and they're able to do all of them, don't waste a lot of time there. When you go to writing, are they able to write all that? Can they listen to someone just say je m'appelle Bernard and understand? If yeah, move with speed so that you can achieve all what you need to achieve. Play games of words. You can put words on the table to rearrange and get the word je m'appelle. Can they put them in the right way? By doing that, the lesson will be so interesting. There are some tips I'd like also to add in each lesson. Because you understand your students very well, try to do differentiation, account for each, for varying levels of language proficiency, and just assigned activities based on the students and the students' abilities and needs, because each, as I said earlier, each student is different and they learn things differently. So make sure that you really accommodate each and everyone. Engagement keeps students motivated by using diverse materials, games, music, video clips, interactive tasks or interactive activities. You can think of cultural context. Integrate cultural aspect of the language, for example, like customs, history, holidays to enrich students' understanding. You can also think of language skills integration. Ensure that your lesson involves all the 4 core language skills, them speaking, reading, talking, no, listening, and writing. Design activities that help students develop each skill. So you need to balance the 4 skills so that, if it's speaking, reading, talking, and writing, they need to balance the 4 of them. Then to finish, you think of student-centered approach. Focus on active learning and minimize a teacher talk time. Don't go and lecture. This is a language class. Don't lecture. Don't talk so much. No. Give a concept and let them talk. Do the talking. Giving students more opportunities to use the language is really crucial. So don't talk so much in a way that you really they start now sleeping, or they start. If you introduce something like je m'appelle Bernard, let them do it. Let them talk. Don't talk and do show them this language. The language of the teacher. So to make the class so interesting, let the students talk and be the facilitate the class, and your class will be somehow interesting. So guys, if you find my thinking of a lesson plan interesting, you can use some of those ideas I've given you, but you are free to use your own ideas. The objective is to make the lesson so interesting so that our students can also learn in a very effective way. So thank you very much, and may God bless you.